Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. I'm KP and here today we'll be running through a SmackDown recap. This is the May 1st edition of the show live from the Box Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we're going to break through everything as we normally do on this channel, go through the night from start to finish, just getting all the reactions to this episode of Friday Night SmackDown. So first and foremost, we're going to be going into our opening segment of the evening, which would see the WWE Undisputed Champion Cody Rhodes making his way down to the ring. He would basically take to the mic saying that he's now been officially medically cleared again to compete in matches. Before then, we see a little bit of Ricky Saints making his way down to greet Cody Rhodes. The NXT call-up says that he was going to be here on this episode of SmackDown, and he's already sort of going after the WWE Champion. A lot of history between these two men, which dates back years and years. Ricky says that he's suave and debonair, amongst other things, while saying that there's a revolution and that he's going to be the one leading that on what is now Friday Night Saints. Cody asks what's the difference between now and the last time that him and Ricky, were face-to-face together, the last time Ricky stepped up to him. This goes back to their AEW days. Before then, Ricky goes over his NXT accolades, saying that he's here to relieve the champion of his duties. Cody then reminds Ricky that he's cleared before then challenging Saints to a match on this episode of SmackDown later on in the show. Ricky says that he isn't about making a statement here on the show, but he's more about changing who the show is all about. The match is set for later on in the evening, and both men go their separate ways from this opening segment. So yeah, we have Ricky Saints, going straight into the center of the limelight here, straight into the spotlight. One-on-one with Cody Rhodes later on the show. We'll be discussing that in a few moments. Going into our second segment of the night and our first match of the evening, this would see Charlotte Flair go one-on-one with JC Jane of Fatal Influence. Fatal Influence would be making their way to the ring, with JC having a mic on hand as they're walking down, basically saying that last week was but a taste of what Fatal Influence are going to bring to SmackDown. JC says that they're going to take out all of the legends, starting with Charlotte Flair. And that seems to be sort of brought to life here in the matchup, because we have a pretty back-and-forth contest between both ladies. Charlotte sort of like showing her experience levels here, and JC trying to sort of like make that impact, sort of like stemming from last week's performance against Rhea Ripley. But instead of a, DQ finish this time, we do get a finish, albeit an asterisk heavily linked alongside it. That would come in way of JC Jane picking up the victory here over Charlotte Flair. After Charlotte locks in the figure eight in the ring, Fallon Henley on the outside drops Charlotte out of the hold while staying just on the other side of those ropes. Alexa takes out Fallon Henley, but is then dealt with by Lainey Reed in way of a knee. Before then, JC hits her rolling encore onto Charlotte Flair, pinning her to pick up the 1-2-3. So what a massive name it is for JC Jane to take in just her second appearance on the SmackDown roster. Fatal Influence really have arrived here, and that's the first win, and it is a big one here for JC, especially here. Post-match, we do see Fatal Influence continuing the attack, though, taking out Charlotte and Alexa, continuing the beatdown. Before then, Rhea Ripley, who had a bit of a backstage thing with Charlotte and Alexa before this one, she would come down to the ring, basically just trying to help on out the situation. Rhea then takes care of Lainey and Fallon on the outside, before then going into the ring to take on JC Jane. She looks for a riptide on Jane, but then JC does get out of it, almost sort of like shoving Rhea into Charlotte Flair. They have a little bit of a stare down. Nothing really to talk about too much on that one. But JC flees the ring with Fallon and Lainey by her side up the ramp. So yeah, it's definitely a great sort of introduction, still keeping that momentum rolling here for the trio that have arrived from NXT. And getting in the faces of both Rhea and Charlotte in consecutive weeks. Here with a victory over Charlotte, that's huge for JC Jane. Going into our next match of the evening, this will be for the WWE Tag Team Championships. We would have Damian Priest and R-Truth defending their gold against none other than Fraxium after a backstage segment. A little bit of a confusing one. R-Truth was talking to them both. Damian thought he was offering a title match. He wasn't. They're apparently talking about taxes. Okay. But then, Damian Priest basically saying, oh, well, this is a team that I wouldn't mind putting, our gold on the line against. So this would be an impromptu Tag Team Championship contest, and quite a fun one it was as well. This was sort of like showing sort of the NXT days of Fraxium here. Saw a lot of what we used to see on a regular, basically, episode of NXT with these two just absolutely killing it. High-flying offense, just going so fast around the ring, just providing electric offense. And we do miss that on a weekly basis here from the guys. But this was basically a chance to relive that, which is quite nice to see. We do see the Damian Priest and R-Truth picking up the victory here in the end of retaining the Tag Team Championships. With Fraxium rolling, Priest gets into the ring, sort of like taking down Fraxium, enough to then drag Truth to the corner and tag himself in. He hits South of Heaven chokeslam on Fraser before a Razor's Edge on Axiom, and that would see him and R-Truth pick up the victory thanks to that. Post-match, though, their work wasn't quite done. They did have a little bit of an ambush courtesy of Tala Tonga of the MFTs. He would assault both Priest and R-Truth, taking out every man in the ring at the time, to be fair, and then would be joined sooner or later by Solo Sikoa. That would transition nicely into our next segment because Solo and Tala Tonga in the middle of the ring, Solo would cut a promo saying that last week Jacob Fatu made a big mistake. He says that Fatu took out his own family before then issuing a warning to Jacob when he arrives at the arena later on today. The Usos then make their way down to the ring, Jimmy and Jay, before Jimmy opens up first saying that Solo isn't the only one to have issues with Jacob Fatu. He says the bigger mistake was attacking Roman Reigns on Monday, before then bringing up the Tonga Death Grip, which is a sacred move in the family. Jay advises Solo to stop focusing on Jacob Fatu, before Solo says that he doesn't have time for this. He sort of walks over to the ropes, and then just sort of stops in his tracks, gives a little bit of a nod, and that's all the signal that Tala Tonga needs to take out the Usos single-handedly. Just gives a swift kick to Jimmy and drops down Jey Usos right afterwards. Just levels them, and that would see the two, Tala and Solo, standing tall here at the end of this segment. A match would come between the two teams later on in the night, which we'll talk about when we get to that point. But our next match of the evening would be a one-on-one matchup. This would come from the opening segment of the night. Cody Rhodes one-on-one with Ricky Saints. Opportunity here for Ricky to show what he can do on the SmackDown roster. And he sort of brought his game here, sort of unleashing the arsenal that we are sort of accustomed to on NXT for the most part. Wasn't the absolute cleanest match, but decent enough to be fair to showcase Ricky. Obviously, Cody's got some chance to get back in the ring and compete once again after his eye injury that he suffered at WrestleMania. This would be a decent enough match, like I said, but yeah, we would have a victory here for Cody Rhodes. Not really too surprising. I think a Ricky Saints win would have been absolutely huge, but probably a little bit on the surprising spectrum here. Cody does pick up the win by landing a crossroads. That would be 1-2-3 for him. But Cody can't really celebrate at the end after his victory over Ricky Saints because as he's literally just declared the winner, he is then laid out by none other than Gunther, who locks in a sleeper hold, putting Cody Rhodes to sleep before he then poses with the WWE Championship to end this segment. But yeah, Gunther over from Monday Night Raw. Looks like he's going to be on SmackDown for the time being, at least. He's coming after the WWE Championship, which I'm more than happy with. I like that, to be fair. I think it gives him something else to do. Cody versus Gunther could be, crazy good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. But Gunther obviously taking a sight on the WWE title. We'll see how he gets on with that. Going from one half to the second half, we have then got Danhausen. He's hitting the ring here, riding down in his Danhausen mobile. And he would then cut a promo, basically saying that he found money backstage. A little bit of a segment earlier on the night with a briefcase backstage. Kit and Miz had planted a trap, sort of drawing Danhausen in to take some money from this briefcase. He's apparently meant to open it and smoke or dust would cover Danhausen, but it didn't quite happen. Miz and Kit Wilson instead opening it up afterwards once Danhausen had left, and then getting hit by the dust or powder themselves. So this would stem up from that. He would say that he's found some human monies. Before then, he would start to say that he wants to share it with with the fans in attendance after buying some Danhausen merch. He throws it into the crowd, which then sees the Miz come down to the ring, saying that bad things keep happening to him since Danhausen arrived. Miz admits that he is cursed before then offering his mentorship towards Danhausen, and as they go to shake hands, we then see Kit Wilson making his way down to the ring, questioning if Miz has lost his damn mind. Kit calls Danhausen a toxic little goblin before Miz says Danhausen has mastered a curse, has zoned in on being a WWE superstar, before saying that Kit can't really say the same thing, and that he isn't even in the same league as the Miz. Kit says that Danhausen should be banned before asking Miz to shake his hand. Miz shakes Danhausen's hand, though, sort of seemingly aligning himself with Danhausen officially, but then as they're sort of just taking in the adulation in the ring, that then sees Miz attack Danhausen from behind, cheap-shotting him, alongside Kit Wilson as well, who joins in with the offense. They then proceed to beat down Danhausen in the ring before they would, hit both their finishes. Job done for Kit and Miz. There would be a tag team matchup announced later on for Backlash. That would be Danhausen against Kit Wilson and the Miz. But Danhausen will need to find a tag team partner off the back of this one. Could be interesting to see who he tags up with at Backlash against Kit and Miz. Coming up next, we'd have a one-on-one matchup here between Royce Keys and Angel. An opportunity for Royce to sort of continue his momentum here. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner. Can he sort of get a victory here against Angel after beating Berto a couple of weeks ago? The answer is yes, he absolutely can, in pretty quick, dominant fashion as well. Quite nicely done here from Royce Keys. Goes for a twisting power slam style maneuver off of the second rope. before then hitting his ultimate spinebuster to pick up the win here. But this is essentially one-way traffic, this matchup. It was pretty quick. Roy's just going through the motions here and, yeah, continuing to sort of impress on his SmackDown matches, which is ultimately very important to him, just keeping that train rolling. So, yeah, good stuff here. Like what I saw from Royce again once more. After that, we would have a very interesting segment here from Sami Zayn. He would be in the ring, cutting a promo alongside the Gingerbread Man, who would be just behind him. This is nobody in the Gingerbread Man costume this time, just purely just there to be held up and just a point proven here by Sami Zayn, someone to address his frustrations towards. He says how big of a fan of Tulsa, Oklahoma he is because he can relate to Bob Dylan there. He explains how Bob Dylan was great before going into sort of more of an electric side of his game. And then the fans actually turned on him on the back of that. He compares that to himself and what he's been through recently, still saying that he's not sure what he's actually done. He then goes on to Trick Williams, saying that he's fun, he's great and all, but what Trick brings to the table is actually very easy to replicate. The entrances, the flash, the look, etc. What's difficult is being as good and as polished as he actually is in the ring himself. He looks at the Gingerbread Man then, saying that Trick views it as disrespect towards Sami and not taking him seriously at all. Sami then squares up to the Gingerbread Man, seemingly starting to lose his marbles, before then stopping himself initially. He goes to shake the hand of the Gingerbread Man, and then actually, as he's shaking his hand, he low blows the Gingerbread Man, before then he just turns, I guess what you could say, just feral, starts tearing apart the Gingerbread Man, before then ripping the gumdrop button from himself, and sort of like posing with it. That then sees Trick Williams come on down to the ring, causing Sami to flee to ringside and into the crowd. And then backstage just afterwards, once the dust is all settled here on the situation, we do then see Trick just by the medical team, and he has been told that the Gingerbread Man is gone. There will be a funeral held for the Gingerbread Man next week on SmackDown. After some it genuinely did seem like somebody had died on the show. They were literally just like selling this just beautifully well. And yeah, you know, obviously tempers are rising, frustrations going on. Trick then actually challenges Sami Zayn to another matchup at Backlash for that United States Championship in a rematch from WrestleMania. So we'll see what happens over at Backlash from that one. But we are going to have a funeral for the Gingerbread Man next week after Sami Zayn's hellacious, murder of the Gingerbread Man himself. Coming up after that, we were going to our penultimate segment of the night, which would see the Women's Tag Team Championships on the line. Paige and Brie Bella defending against the team of Nia Jax and Lash Legend, the Irresistible Forces. This would be an opportunity for Nia and Lash to get back the Tag Team Championships, but it would be an unsuccessful one. Nia would look for an annihilator on Brie Bella, but Paige on the ropes would sort of like kick at Nia's legs, dropping her down. She would hit some sort of like running cannonball onto Lash on the outside, whilst Brie Bella rolls up Nia Jax in order to get the 1-2-3 in this matchup and to retain their Women's Tag Team Championship. So Nia and Lash officially, I guess you could say, out of the tag team conversation now for the championships, being put out here by Brie and Paige themselves. So yeah, the reign continues, and didn't expect it to end just yet. It was an okay tag team matchup. Felt a little bit sloppy in parts, quite slow, sluggish, but with an opportunity to get all four women involved here and to keep the momentum from WrestleMania sort of like rolling on for especially Paige and Brie Bella themselves. And then going into our main event of the evening, we would have Jimmy and Jay of the Usos taking on Solo Sikoa and Tala Tonga of the MFTs. Tag team matchup here, allowing sort of, the Usos to try and step up to their younger brother. And it's all about family, this one, I guess you could say. In the end, though, we would have a disqualification finish here, so it would be Solo and Tala Tonga getting the victory here, thanks to an attack by Jacob Fatu, as Tala Tonga was prepping the announce table on the outside. Jacob sort of like flies on the Tala from the barricade, attacking him, and then lays out him enough to go into the ring, dealing with Solo Sikoa, locks in a Tonga death grip on Solo, before then hitting a Samoan drop to Tala Tonga through the announce table back on the outside. Fatu has a bit of a stare down with the Usos before stepping through them, just walking right through them, leaving the ring, and then he grabs a mic as he's walking up the ramp, telling the Usos to tell Roman that he's going to dog walk him at Backlash, and that'll be the end of this episode of SmackDown. So a lot of unique stuff on this episode, I guess you could say for sure. We've got Sami Zayn literally murdering a gingerbread man, of which a memorial service will be held next week. That is something I didn't expect to say in 2026, but sure, here we are. We got Royce Keys firing on with his momentum, Ricky Saints stepping up and going up against the WWE champion, only to then be attacked by Gunther afterwards. So it looks like Cody's got a big problem on his hands now from Monday Night Raw, we got another change of scenery for somebody here on the roster. No official drafts, but people moving around left, right, and center here. Tag Team Championships matches, 2 of them, with both of them being retained in the process. And that segment there from Danhausen, Kit, and Miz, just quite interesting, with Fatal Influence continuing their dominance since they have arrived. But yeah, a lot going on here on SmackDown. Not a bad show, not a great show. Probably a good amount of 7, I would say, to be fair. It's got a bit of everything here. It's got a bit of comedy. It's got a little bit of storytelling. It's got a little bit of, just, I guess, unexpected stuff here. So I guess there's a bit of everything for everyone. So not too bad, I suppose. I've seen worse episodes recently, but I've also seen last week's one, which was a bit better in my opinion. But everybody, what did you make of this episode of Friday Night SmackDown? Did you share the same opinions as me? We'd love to hear what you think in the comments down below. Let us know whether you liked it, disliked it, and anything else regarding WWE at the moment. If you like this video, then consider hitting a like on this one, subscribing to our channel, and keeping up with future releases coming out very, very soon. We're always pumping out the WWE reactions here over at The Push, and we'd love to hear what you're thinking about all of that. This has been The Push with Nick and KP, though. We'll see you on the next one. Take it easy, and goodbye for now.